life is going to keep happening and curveballs will happen and crazy things will happen. And sometimes saying yes, when you're asking yourself, why not now, is actually more than just the moment. It's actually preparation for your future.
I'm Amy Jo Martin. Welcome to the Why Not Now show. You know that thing you've been thinking about doing? Yeah, that one. Why not now? Have you ever actually taken the time to ask yourself, what's stopping me? Let's talk it through. This is your chance to give that idea the attention it deserves and take action. Each episode, I have a chat with a fascinating person, from entrepreneurs to athletes, celebrities, my parents, rocket scientists, and all walks of life. We talk through a critical time when they've asked themselves, why not now? We dissect that day or even that moment, step by step.
Just let go.
Nicole Walters quit her 9-to-5 job in front of 10,000 people. She's on the show today. Talk about burning your boat. It may have seemed spontaneous, but Nicole had been dating her side hustle for a long time. And in her words, she wasn't quitting her job. She was hiring herself. Over the span of the last 5 years, Nicole has turned that side hustle into a multi-million-dollar business. Her new TV show, She's the Boss, is about how she juggles running a thriving business while raising 3 kids with her husband. Speaking of, you just heard Lincoln in the background, my kid. Without further ado, here's Nicole Walters. Nicole, welcome to the Why Not Now show.
Amy Jo, thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Absolutely. In the spirit of Why Not Now, let's hop in. Can you tell me about a time when you had a big decision to make and you asked yourself, why not now? We'll dissect that day, that season, that minute, that hour, and really help everyone understand how you bridged that gap, that delta between idea and action.
Sure. So my big why not now moment was the day that I quit my 9-to-5 job and jumped into entrepreneurship. And I did that live online in front of 10,000 people.
Let's talk about that. Okay. So, I was hoping this was going to be your story. The thought behind that process. So clearly you had, planned on doing this because you had to have the technology set up in order to do so.
Well, kind of. I think that's always the big plot twist, is a lot of people think it was super duper planned, and it honestly was semi-planned. I knew I was going to quit. I did not know it was going to play out that way. And the fact that I didn't know it was going to play out that way is what made it a why not now moment.
Okay, then let's talk about that. Let's kind of double click on that. So here you are, you knew you were going to do this in terms of take this step, but maybe not execute in this way. What was it right before the phone call that you decided to do this live? How did you get all of that audience? Was it just kind of a viral type of situation?
Yeah, so it was a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. So I'd been planning on quitting my job and building myself a place to go. And I'd been doing that little by little and was feeling confident that in the coming months, I'd be able to finally wind down and quit my job. However, in sharing the process of prepping for my quit day online, I'd amassed a bit of a following, kind of watching the highs and lows of entrepreneurship at its newest phase, because most entrepreneurs typically kind of come out like a rocket ship saying, hey, I'm here and I'm ready. And most people don't get to see what it looks like before. So that's what I'd been sharing. And so when the day came where I was like, you know what? I have a booked schedule tomorrow. There's no way I'm going to take care of my work stuff. It's time for me to do my annual performance review with my boss. So I'll have him on the calendar. You know what? Why not now? Why don't I just go ahead and quit? And I went online because I just kind of made that decision in that moment to say, hey guys, I think I'm going to quit today. And everyone was like, hey, why not now, Nicole? We'd love to watch. And sure enough, that's what happened. It turned into a viral moment because the people that were watching were sharing and it was trending. And before you know it, it was a whole big thing.
Being able to design my own day and do it in the most efficient way is a non-negotiable for me. I'm a bit of a time management nerd, so when I find something that allows me to be more efficient and effective to get the most out of my day, I want to share it with everyone. I want you to head to monday.com/AJM because here's the scoop. I have a new tool in my productivity tool belt, and it's called Monday. Monday.com. My team and I have never felt more organized, professionally and personally. And my to-do list is no longer the boss of me. I feel more in control because every project, initiative, date, task, they're all captured and organized in one place. And my team is in the loop and involved every step of the way. Monday.com/AJM is where you can find your brand new operating system. Everything has its own home, deadline. You can see the team members associated with the tasks, and it's even color coordinated, so you can easily navigate your own task list. It's amazing. So we all have multifaceted jobs, businesses, and lives. With Monday, you're able to keep all of these components organized in their own compartments. But you're also only one click away from seeing the big picture and how they all integrate together. Creating systems and procedures within your day in business saves a lot of time. For example, my team and I have a dedicated board for this very podcast. Did you know there are 28 steps involved in getting one podcast just to air? It's the same exact process every time, and it's a system. And we have the various key steps mapped out, and they're set up as tasks on our podcast board. And this allows for my team and I to stay in lockstep every step of the way. I've even noticed a decrease in emails and meetings since we started using Monday. So you can head to monday.com/AJM and check out how I use it. One feature I love is that my social media content calendar is built inside of monday.com. I finally have one that I actually use. I like it, and it's embedded into my overall calendar as well. Another feature we use every day is the Google Doc integration. You know, I love a good spreadsheet. I can pull them into monday.com and edit them right there versus having 97 tabs open on my computer. If how we monday our days is how we spend our lives, then I can't think of anything more important than using the time in our days wisely. Head to monday.com/AJM to start your free trial today. That's monday.com/AJM, which is short for Amy Jo Martin, if that's how you need to remember it. And you'll see how I use it, what's in it for you, and that's where you get your free trial. So if you start using Monday, hit me up on social media. Let me know how you're using it, what your experience is like, and we can swap tips and tricks. I wish I had started using it sooner. It's amazing. And I've watched clips of it, and you can feel the energy. You can see the hearts flying through the feed and people commenting and being a part of this process and this experiment. So take me through the moment, the hour after you hang up that phone. And then let's do a little movie trailer of what's happened from then till now. I mean, big changes.
Big things. Yeah, absolutely. So, and this is funny because most people don't ask about kind of what was it like the moments after. They just kind of assume you quit, that was big, that was crazy. And then now look at you, you're a successful entrepreneur. And so it's great that you're asking that question. So I hung up the phone And I remember at first feeling immediate like excitement and joy and relief and all that energy that you saw reflected in the video online from everyone watching. Amy Jo, my phone was ringing off the hook. I had parents calling me, aunts calling me, family calling. I mean, because this thing was going viral. And I'm over here feeling super excited at first and relieved, and then immediately deflated because I realized, oh no, this is real. Like I finally did it, but now, tomorrow, like I'm my own boss. So what's next? I mean, I know that I have things to do, but what's next as my own CEO? And I recall walking into the bathroom and actually calling one of my good friends and saying, hey, I think I need help, like team help. My inbox is suddenly filling up with people and I did not expect this. And that friend was like, don't worry, I got your back, which was just a blessing. And then I walked into the kitchen area and I was like, I'm hungry and I need food. And I was like, there's no food here. And I remember just like walking downstairs, stopping in a random pub and ordering a plate of fries. And then I came home and just went to sleep. It was just it was like so anticlimactic for as crazy of a day as it was.
Oh my goodness. So this was on Instagram Live, right?
No, this was pre-Instagram Live. This was actually on Periscope, which is Twitter's sort of live platform. So this was before Facebook Live existed, before Instagram Live existed. I was one of those early adopters.
Good for you. Good for you. And because the screen, you could see there's like a similar, it was going off. And so I saw clips of it. And when you talk a lot about the fact that you weren't quitting your job, but you were hiring yourself. Yes, and so that's a pretty big reframe, right? So that to me just speaks volumes about what you were saying yes to, not what you were, looking at in the past. So did you have 2 weeks then that you had to run out that like a 2-week notice process and you're still...
I wish I could say I was able to give 2 weeks notice. I had too many clients waiting for me. I had an inbox that was full. I had revenue to generate and a course to launch. I terminated effective immediately. Okay. Yes. So I was truly hiring myself.
You were truly talk about happening. But what I also appreciate is you acknowledge that you were paralleling this for a while. Rarely do we ever just switch from one thing to the next. You were side hustling, you were working it, you had built something already. Having a very similar experience when I worked in the NBA and starting my first company in 2009, I think, people perceive of, oh, you stopped and then you started. It's like, oh no, this was uncomfortable. This was like moonlighting and even hiding and working at work.
Yes. I always joke about that, how I was stealing hours back for myself during the process. In addition to, my kids will tell stories of how they would go to bed and I would be up working and they'd wake up and I'd be up working, and because they knew that I was working kind of 2 jobs, because when I quit my job, I wanted to be a great boss for me. I wanted to be hired by someone that I felt was capable and that I could trust and that I knew would pay my paycheck in full and on time. And so for that to be the case, I had to make myself that person. And I wanted to be confident when my quit day came. And I was.
Quit day. I love it. I love that so much. Okay. So take us through the next process and all the way up to this week to this huge, I'd say a pretty big landmark that's happening where,
fast forward, I knew that I had to scale the business. And what that really meant was adding income streams. So, making sure that I wasn't stuck in just one-to-one working with clients, but I also wanted to have events and I wanted people to be able to access my offering via courses. And I wanted to work with small groups of elite, high-end clients, so I added additional income streams, a member group, some retail products. And in doing that, the business quickly scaled over the span of the past 5 years to multi-million. And we now have a headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia, called Inherit Learning Company, where we provide these business education services for, the everyday entrepreneur. So the business is thriving. And, but, because of the way that I started, it was only an integrity for me to share that journey of the business growing as I kept going. People were like, I can't believe you quit. You're not leaving us now. We want to see the rest of everything. So I did that. And Amy Jo, I was sharing everything online, from moments where I'm sitting in my bathtub crying because I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got 500 people showing up at an event tomorrow and I'm so nervous, to moments where I'm like, I just made $1.5 million in a weekend. I can't believe this is my life. And all these highs and lows coupled with parenting. So I have 3 girls, and, people got to see sort of, how is she balancing all of this, and all of that drew a lot of attention. And I had the opportunity to film a TV show, which is coming out this week.
Amazing. Amazing. So in terms of just, I have to share, the trailer for the TV show cracked me up. I even paused, like there's this portion where you're setting the ground rules for your house, right? And is it your Manny or is it your assistant that you're setting him for?
I mean, realistically, he's neither my assistant or my Manny. He's my 4th son. But yes, he's like my Manny. He helps out around the house.
Okay, so you've got this board and you're just saying the rules. And I had to pause it to read the rules because I was laughing so hard. So by the way, do you remember the first rule? Which one?
What's the first rule? It's either don't wear my wigs or no singing, or
it's no, I am the boss
and not your friend. Yes. I have to tell him all the time. Oh my goodness.
But then the other person in the clip said, well, who's I'm?
Right. That's my husband.
And okay. That's what I thought. I just
trying to keep tabs on him. Who's I'm? And he's like, you're the boss.
I just love the dynamic. And it just seems like your household is about it. What's amazing is it's so relatable. I watch them like, yep. And everybody is just not really used to seeing the behind the scenes. So that's exciting. So let's touch back on your business, because here we've talked a little bit about it, but tell us a little bit more about what you do, about the type of education you provide.
Absolutely. So I think that what I noticed when I came into sort of this private client world and consultations online was that there was a ton of people teaching about how to optimize social media and how to leverage the newest, ads and hashtags and things like that. But I'm old school corporate. I come from a formalized background with, financial training, healthcare training, and all I knew was kind of the ins and outs of how to build a corporation. But I realized a lot of entrepreneurs need that. They need to understand the legalities and the importance of contracts and how to negotiate and pitch and why your financials matter and when you need to be a trademark or an LLC. And, just a lot of the foundational pieces that you just can't skip. And what happened was, once I started filling these gaps for entrepreneurs, whether they were newly starting out or been doing this for a while, they actually saw revenue increases as well, because they were acting like a business. So they started getting paid like one too. And it was really impressive to see what happened, particularly, when the pandemic hit. A lot of my clients were eligible for loans and grants and supports that they typically wouldn't have been eligible for if they had not been officially structured like a business, because that's what's required in order to really play in the free market. So it's really rewarding to know that what I'm doing is really old school, nothing fancy, but I'm really filling a gap so that, your jam makers can just make jam and I can worry about your business.
Awesome. So true. Those basics. I think sometimes we leapfrog, right? We kind of transcend, and sometimes the more sexy stuff that doesn't always pay the bills. Yes. So what gets you out of bed in the morning? What do you do to give yourself some positive energy to get going in the morning?
Yeah. So, I mean, if it's not Eddie singing around the house or the kids, screaming, where's my book bag? What really gets me jazzed to show up every single day is that I really do love what I do. I mean, it's hard. I'll have 12 to 15-hour days, but the type of people that I work for are your, stay-at-home moms who never thought they could have a business, or your crafters that are selling their goods online, or your farmers market makers, that are saying, I really want to build something great. And knowing that I get to work for people who may have never thought they could have a truly sustainable, debt-free business, and that the funds that I'm helping them gain are building a legacy, helping them pay school fees and take vacations and pay for summer camp. I mean, it's just so inspiring. And, over the past year with, the craziness of the economy and all the things that have happened, it's just been particularly rewarding to realize that it's not just about those extras like vacations and summer camp, but that I'm helping preserve a lot of these Main Street businesses. And that is not just rewarding, it really is part of my own legacy. So I'm really grateful. And every day at work is long and it's tiring, but I have no regrets.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. I'm hopping in here to tell you about a new discovery of mine. I'm in love, and let me tell you, I've fallen hard. We all like our caffeine in the morning. I look forward to that first, second, and fifth cup of coffee in the morning, but now I exclusively drink Super Coffee. I'm such a fan that I actually invested in the company, the team, and their culture. The love for what I do every day makes me jump out of bed in the morning, but Super Coffee truly fuels that fire. It's fueled with positive energy, from the ingredients they use to their brand promise. Super Coffee removes the negatives like sugar and adds the positives like MCT oil and protein so that you can maximize your day. I have an embarrassing secret. I used to be addicted to diet soda. I'd roll out of bed and pop open a can before my eyes were even fully open. I had never been a huge coffee drinker, but when I gave up diet soda on July 12th, 2015, yes, the moment deserves an anniversary. It was a big deal. I needed another caffeine source at that point. For me, that meant coffee with lots of artificial sweeteners, with crazy ingredients I can't pronounce that made me crash by 2 p.m. or so. Well, not anymore. Super Coffee is different. As I mentioned, there's no added sugar, and some of the flavors I love have 10 grams of plant protein. Now, I'm not a big meat eater, so this really helps, and they've just added a few new flavors to their plant-based offering, like French vanilla and sweet cream. They only use ingredients that are great tasting, great for you, and sustain you for the long haul. Nothing shady, only positives. The taste is delish, I can tell you. Take it from someone who needs that extra flavor to enjoy the taste of coffee. And Super Coffee also comes in ground coffee, Keurig pods, creamers, and more on their website, drinksupercoffee.com. One of the things my team and I love most is that on drinksupercoffee.com, you can shop Super Coffee's wide variety of products based on your dietary needs, including gluten-free, plant-based, Whole30, keto, or even vegan, right there on their website. There's something for everyone. While you're on the site, go ahead and stock up because Super Coffee is hooking up Why Not Now listeners with a 25% discount. Head to supercoffee.com and use the code Why Not Now for your 25% discount on all products. drinksupercoffee.com is the only place this offer is available, and your discount works again for all products. Just use Why Not Now as your code, all one word. There are no restrictions. I'm an investor in Super Coffee because the founders truly do walk the talk. Yes, their coffee provides positive energy, but so does their company culture. Their founders are three brothers who share a work hard and be nice to people mentality, and they spread that throughout their culture at Super Coffee. They know the importance of having diverse perspectives at the leadership level, and I'm a fan of elevating women in leadership. In fact, one of my Renegade Accelerator grads, Jamie Christ, is one of those women. So once that positive energy arrives on your doorstep, hit me up on social at Amy Jo Martin and show me what flavors and products you went with. And bonus points if you try one of their seasonal blends. The company is growing quickly, and you'll probably start noticing Super Coffee in your local Walmart, Target, or Costco. They are now in over 30,000 retailers nationwide. To take advantage of your exclusive 25% discount, head to drinksupercoffee.com and enter Why Not Now at checkout. That's Why Not Now, all one word. drinksupercoffee.com is the only place this offer is available, and your discount works for all products, no restrictions. Seeing is believing. So the fact that you've been sharing your story along the way and you've done this on a stage, you're walking the planet and going about your journey. That's one of the things that's so convincing. Oh, I could do this too. So that's amazing. And so when we think about this show, when you were approached to do this show or decided, what are some of the things that went through your mind? I mean, that's kind of a why not now moment in itself, I imagine.
It is. Absolutely. So, I mean, it definitely was something that the first thing that occurred to me was I was really grateful that I was being approached at a time where I had built out my own foundation. So I had options. There's nothing like being in a place where you get an opportunity, but you don't feel like you need the opportunity. So it does really make it a why not now question, because you can really say, well, if I don't want to, I'm not going to, so that was really exceptional, and then we'd had other opportunities come our way that were styled a little differently. So this was really great because it was truly at my heart, being able to show what it's like to be a working mom, what it's like to run a business, and the fact that it is an extremely imperfect process. And we laugh all along the way to keep us going. So, She's the Boss really captured everything I was looking for when I said, yeah, this is really what my family's like, and guess what? Most people's families are kind of crazy like this too. And that was just, the timing was perfect. And I'm really excited because it's, I think, exactly what America needs right now. A family that's made in a lot of different ways. It looks a little different from theirs, but somehow is exactly the same.
Yes. Oh, you said something, I don't know if it was an interview I was listening to, or maybe even in the trailer for the show, She's the Boss, but that balance is, I think you said bogus. I'm going to say bullshit, but whatever you choose, bananas, bonkers, whatever. So let's talk about that for a minute, just from a productivity standpoint, because obviously you're high functioning, you're driven, you're getting shit done, but you also, like in my case, I imagine it's kind of like your world. It's a beautiful mess. It's a beautiful shit show on any given day. So what's your number one productivity tip?
Oh my goodness. So it's twofold. One, I use a calendar, in terms of tactical. I actually use and leverage a calendar. And a lot of people may bulk away from the structure, or they think that a calendar is simply something that is loose to adhere to. But no, if it doesn't go on the calendar, it doesn't happen. So even my 9-year-old knows, like, hey, mom, I have karate tomorrow. And then she'll double back and say, is it on the calendar? Because she knows that if I want something to happen, it's got to get into that calendar. So everyone on the family has their own color. We put it on the calendar, and it just really helps make sure that with all the madness, we are where we say we're going to be. And then the other tip is, not as tactical, but definitely practical. And it's to grant myself some grace. I just recognize that with all the balls that I'm juggling, something's going to drop. I just know that I'm going to be imperfect. I know that things are going to drop, but what matters is that I distinguish between the glass balls and the rubber balls. So if it's glass, I don't want it to drop and shatter. Things like my family, my children, that relationship, those are glass, and I always have to juggle them well. But rubber might be, I didn't get to make breakfast this morning, or someone else is going to handle the carpool pickup. Those sorts of things, they bounce back, and it's not the end of the world, and I can try again tomorrow. So granting myself grace in that process is everything.
I love that. I love the rubber glass ball analogy, and it's just keep your eye on the glass balls, right? You get.
Yes.
And you did have quite an experience in 2019 with your family with the health situation. I watched a video on that too. Will you share a little bit about that and just how you navigated being an entrepreneur alongside a pretty intense situation?
Yeah. So at the time, my three daughters that I adopted, my 18-year-old who had just turned 17 contracted lymphoma. And so she was stage 4 and, just wildly unexpected. We did not see it coming. We thought we were dealing with just like kind of a fever that wouldn't go away. And long story short, we went right into chemo and we had to do the entire process. And thankfully, she's well. She's completely and totally in remission. She's in survivorship. She's doing incredibly well. So we're super grateful and, happy that she has basically gone back to, it's like it never happened. I mean, truly, has bounced back and she's every part of a teenager. Now, what that looked like next to entrepreneurship, it was a mixture of the two. One side of it was, boy, was I so glad that I quit when I did. Boy, was I so glad that I said yes to that why not now moment because one, I had the revenue to be able to cover all those bills and cancer is expensive. Two, I was able to be by her side and I didn't worry about paid time off or Family Medical Leave Act or calling into the boss to check or who's going to cover me. I was able to be where I needed to be, which was by her side without fail 24/7. And that moment, without getting choked up, it's still new, I guess, but that moment for me, it's never lost on me when I was in the hospital, how many parents weren't there. Because I was an entrepreneur, I knew that they weren't there, not by choice. There's no parent that doesn't want to be by their kid's side 24/7 by choice. It was because of the fact that they had to work. It was because of the fact that they had to other obligations. And I was just so grateful that my style of work allowed me to be there. So even when I said, why not now to my purpose, many years prior, I didn't realize I was also saying, why not now to future situations of life that were bound to happen that would require me to show up as a different person. And I'd started that process years prior. So I think that was one of the many lessons is that life is going to keep happening and curveballs will happen and crazy things will happen. And sometimes saying yes, when you're asking yourself, why not now, is actually more than just the moment. It's actually preparation for your future.
So well said. And I'm so happy to hear that she's doing great. And what a ride. What a ride. I can't echo that enough just about entrepreneurship. And it is not for everyone, right? I mean, we could probably agree. Yeah, sure. It's also not for the faint of heart, but my son was in the NICU for 3 months. He was born 3 months early. And one of the things that I will always hold as such a true gift was that flexibility to be my own boss, to be able to work from wherever. And most of the time it was right by his side when he was in his incubator. So it's amazing how much freedom and map freedom is geography freedom you can have. So what's one lesson, Nicole, that you find yourself learning over and over again?
Oh my gosh, let go of control. I mean, that is probably something that I'm constantly working on. I have a tendency because of my inclination towards numbers and formulas and structures and plans. And, I run a debt-free business. I've never had investors. So I'm like, this can be done, and I think that sometimes I have to say to myself, there are curveballs. They're going to happen. Not everyone can plan everything. And, people, I work with people and for people, which means that everyone's got their own thing going inside their head, their own narrative, their own everything. So just being loose and fluid and flexible and willing to adapt is probably the thing that I'm constantly working on, because there's nothing like planning everything, thinking it's going to happen a certain way, and then something blows up, and you're like, okay, I guess you have to, scrap this and try something new. So that's probably the entrepreneurial thing, is that just because things get out of control doesn't mean you're not good at the work. It's just the nature of life.
When you think about just the way that you are living your life and what you're doing in terms of doing something that you're making an impact and you're making an income. And so many people believe that those two, they don't intersect, or they kind of don't buy into that concept. Now, we both know that that's not the case, but what are some of the things you do to help people understand, no, that's actually where the sweet spot is. That's actually where you want to double down.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think that for me, I mean, I am I'm a Christian, so that like my faith really does help me. It fills the gap in those moments of belief that I think every entrepreneur faces. So, whether it's, through faith or anything else, I think it's really important that people find something to help bolster them beyond the dollar or beyond the, thank you note, because those won't always come in a steady way, with entrepreneurship. But for me, my belief around charging appropriately and my belief around getting paid for good work really does come from my faith. I'm a believer that God has given me a purpose, a skill, an ability, and a way to show up to help other people ascend to where they're supposed to be. But the only way I'm supposed to be there 24/7, because why on earth would I have this gift to spend any time doing anything else, is if I am paid to do so. Because if I'm only charging half my rate, well, then I have to spend half my time doing something else. And that just isn't in alignment with the concept of working in your purpose. And I always put it into the context of this, this concept, we all know about Beyonce's gift singing. Well, if Beyonce gave that away for free, she couldn't do it as often or in as many places. Not as many people could hear her voice, and she couldn't get to where she needs to go quickly, effectively, and whole. Furthermore, even worse, if you give your gift away for free or are too afraid to launch, that would be like Beyonce singing in the shower and not letting anyone ever hear her voice, and could we imagine a world like that, right? So, it truly is something that I take very seriously, not just the point of working and living in my purpose, but the point of charging accordingly so I can continue to do so.
And how do you invest in yourself?
It's a question my therapist asks me every day, Amy Jo. How do I invest in myself? I mean,
different ways to do it, huh?
I know. So I will say that I do love a good vacation, and I do this thing that I call self-care sabbaticals. And, I'm not going to lie, there is a little bit of guilt with it because I do take very good care of myself during these trips. But, every quarter I try to take 3 or 4 days and I take a self-care sabbatical by myself. I get a hotel room or I travel, and I am nobody's anything. The only time someone says the name Nicole is if they're saying, ma'am, would you like, a cocktail, or what can we serve you? Not mom, not wife, not mentor, not coach. And I just do this because it just helps me to be nobody's anything for just a little while so I can get back into the world and be all the things for all the people all the time, So yeah, that's what that looks like. It's something I wrangle with, right, as a mom wanting to be at home and loving my kids and my family, but it's something that I know is very, very good for me.
Amazing. And do you turn off the email? Do you turn off the Slack? Are you?
Oh yeah. During that time, it's radio silence. And granted, I will not say that I'm like any other entrepreneur. It's a taper. The first couple days, I'm like, oh, I can still check in. I just won't comment. Oh, I'll still, see what's going on social, but I won't answer my DMs. And then by day 3, it's like, okay, Nicole, you know what I mean? The world did not disappear and it'll be there when you get back. Everything off.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so good. Oh man. Yeah. I love the solo vacations. A lot of times I know people in the past, I think they kind of do a tilt head. Like, is she okay? Like, oh, I'm great.
Oh, I'm so good. Like I'm beyond good. Or whenever I go to a restaurant or do anything during my solo vacation, just one. Yeah, really just one. And every time you say that to me, I'm reminded about how happy I am that it's just one.
I love that. Well, good for you for making space for yourself and self-care sabbaticals. So good. Love it. So a couple of rapid fire questions for you. Pirates or ninjas? Who's tougher and why?
Definitely ninjas because they're classically trained, whereas pirates just have brute force.
What's something recently that you've read that's interesting? It could be an article, it could be a book, it could be anything.
Let me see here. Oh, you know what? My we've been reading Harry Potter together and she's learning, obviously she's 9, so she's learning lots of new words. I taught her the word integrity yesterday, and I realized how many made up words are in Harry Potter. So she's asking me definitions and I'm like, well, that's not a real word, but it is a word in this world. And this is what that means. And so I think that what's interesting about that, just to bring it all home, is I feel the same way in entrepreneurship, where a lot of things have labels on them that may not be bad things, but we have an inclination to make them bad things. And I realized we could just redefine them to what, like the word problem. Problem just needs solving. It doesn't mean it's bad. So that's kind of the full circle on that. That it just triggered that thought when I read it.
I love it. Isn't it amazing what we can learn from reading with our kids?
Oh, anything. Oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. And their books are changing all the time. They're not reading like Hungry Caterpillar like us anymore. They're reading like cooler stuff.
Yeah. And every time I read a new book, I have a 22-month-old, I think, wait a minute, adults need this more. This is a good book. Like, why are you keeping this in the children's world? We need this probably more than they need.
Absolutely. There's so many good lessons. Yes.
So, yeah, well, that's cool. Harry Potter. Oh, how fun. How fun. I think about where you started with the conversation with your Why Not Now.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that's been brewing, a Why Not Now idea that you have? I mean, you have a TV show that's launching, so that's a pretty big one. But anything that's you've been flirting with, personal, professional, that you're just like, I don't know if I'm going to do this or not.
Yeah. So I've actually started my retail line. I was on the fence about it for a while, just kind of like, is this something that I think I want to do? Do I know what it looks like? And I've just started flirting. I've placed a couple orders on a product I've been working on for about 2 years. I don't have any names or details yet, but it is something that I'm thinking is a why not now? Let's get it out there, sample it, beta it, and see how it goes. But it feels risky because it's totally different. That is not what I thought I'd be doing. So we'll see what happens.
That's fun, though. Well, you can't fail if you're experimenting, right? So just stay in beta for a little while and you can decide. Yeah. So if we were to go back, Nicole, to that moment before you picked up the phone and decided to go on Periscope and you could give yourself a piece of advice in that moment, not knowing what was about to happen with everything that's transpired since, what would you say to yourself?
You're less alone than you feel. Because in that moment, I felt like I was actually on one of those self-care sabbaticals. So I felt really by myself, and like I was really walking the plank, or stepping out on a ledge. And I took for granted how many people were watching the journey, cheering me on, how that my husband had my back, and that I really wasn't alone. And even more so in entrepreneurship, when you jump out to do big things like that, people who are watching, they're not just rooting for you, they're there to support you. And people show up along the way. So you may not see where you're going, but mentors show up all along the way. And I have to have faith even now from what I've learned then that 5 years from now, if I decide I want to keep doing this retail thing or whatever, that the person who's going to help me take it to where it needs to go is out there. And I just haven't met them yet.
I love that so much. So incredible. What a journey. Yeah. So she's the boss. Everybody has to tune in, watch this. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. And thank you for sharing your time and your energy, your wisdom.
It was my joy. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the show. Hit me up on social media to let me know what you think. I'm at Amy Jo Martin on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I want to hear your Why Not Now moments so I can share them on the show. Just send me a note to whynotnow@amyjomartin.com. For show notes and other offers, you can visit amyjomartin.com/whynotnow. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for my email newsletter for exclusive content and announcements. A big thanks to Rock Salt Music for all of the tunes by the talented John Coggins. And of course, a hat tip to Richard Brewer for editing and producing the show. I'll see you next time. And until then, why not now?